Rachel Zegler just celebrated her birthday, but she didn't make it a simple day where she went after her critics, trashing them as bad people.
It's gone viral.
It's gone viral.
Has it?
Viral.
I
hope so. I hope so.
Oh God, okay. Am I in my villain era or in my hero era?
That's because she's half Colombian and half Polish, and being mixed race, there's going to be some people upset whenever she's cast for a role that's traditionally white or traditionally Hispanic.
I hope I'm always in my hero era. I think we should all be in our reputation era.
Rachel's glare just crossed a line even. Her critics didn't see coming in a move. That's already sending shockwaves through Hollywood and infuriating. Theatre purists' glare reportedly demanded the Evita script be rewritten, calling the original story offensive to marginalized communities. That's right, a decades-old musical based on real, historical events and beloved by millions around the world is now being reimagined to fit modern sensitivities. And Rachel's glare is allegedly leading the charge.
Now it looks like the damage control is continuing. It's almost like someone finally gave Rachel Zegler a script to use. Rachel Zegler is addressing the multi-pronged backlash she faced. I interpret people's feelings about this film as their passion for her. And what an honor to be part of something for which people feel such passion. We're not always going to have the same sentiments as those around us. And all that we can do is give the best of ourselves. If this isn't complete 180 damage control, I don't know what is. Gee, this is the same person who stood up there and all over the original multiple times. This is the same person who only months ago basically was all over people that had a problem with her. This is the same person who said, I don't need Trump supporters going to support my movie if you disagree differently than myself politically. All of a sudden told this woman exactly what to say. The problem is, this is too little too late.
Insiders claim she took issue with how Eva Perón's character was portrayed, arguing it glorifies colonial systems and sends the wrong message to young viewers. But here's where it gets even more outrageous. The production team allegedly had no idea this was coming.
It becomes more and more apparent that the current young generation of Hollywood actors are just a bunch of self-entitled a-holes. This guy, Jacob Elordi, sat there and he was like, I'm not going to play Superman because it's too dark of a role. But then he comes out and he's like, I'll just do anything. Check this out.
I mean, I'll just play what they give me. You know, I need a job.
But watching him say that reminds me exactly of Rachel Zegler.
What made you want to step into this world of DC heroes? I needed a job. I'm being so serious.
And she just seemed so incredibly smug when she said that. I never want to see anything with her in it ever again.
According to multiple leaks, Zegler didn't just voice concerns. She reportedly insisted on sweeping changes to entire scenes, demanding edits to lyrics, lines, and even character dynamics, and fans, they're not having it. Outrage exploded across social media, with many accusing Zegler of trying to erase history to suit her personal agenda. But the backlash didn't stop there, because what happened behind the scenes will blow your mind.
Rachel Zegler is back in the news because her PR team is working overtime right now to fix her image, because so many of these resurfaced video clips of her just make her look really, really bad. What matters here is perception. Who she actually is actually has little consequence on any of this. How she's perceived by the world, that's what matters. Right. And how she's perceived by the world is not good, because she hasn't been able to escape these interview clips, which show a clear disdain for the company she works for, a clear disdain for the story in which she's been hired to help portray and tell. Who she is really has little bearing on any of this. At the end of the day, Disney doesn't care who she really is. I'm sure the people that love her, her friends and family, she's plenty nice to them. That's not what matters here.
Understand why this is such a big deal. You have to know what Evita represents. It's not just a musical, it's a cultural monument written by Andrew Lloyd Webber and Tim Rice. In the 1970s, Evita tells the story of Eva Perón, the First Lady of Argentina, who rose from poverty to political power and became a symbol of hope for millions.
Absolutely loved it, as per everything of Evita. It's amazing.
Brilliant, awesome, really, really good.
Yeah, as always, the good to expect. Cast was fantastic, beautiful, very well produced.
Loads of really good dancing. The acting was absolutely amazing. You'd never know it was teenagers. You'd think it was professionals.
I'm amazed at how mature everyone is, given that it's literal musical youth, at portraying these complex characters in history.
It's brilliantly staged. I think I learned something tonight that I didn't know already. Great singing, great dancing, and learn more about something that you might not have known.
It's really moving. It's really poignant to the end. That really works for me. The whole thing's fantastic. And visually, it kept you engaged all the way through.
It was just a fantastic story, just a really good evening out.
The show is packed with iconic numbers like Don't Cry For Me Argentina, and it's been performed on the biggest stages in the world from Broadway to the West End. Madonna even played Eva in the 1996 film adaptation for Latin American communities, especially Evita isn't just entertainment, it's personal, it reflects a turbulent, deeply emotional piece of real history.
So this is something that just happened in London. This is Rachel Zegler as Eva Peron in the upcoming West End revival of Evita at the London Palladium, directed by Jamie Lloyd. There had been speculation that they might be using the actual balcony of the theatre on the outside above the marquee to perform Don't Cry For Me Argentina and have it broadcast via live camera feed into the auditorium, potentially on a screen, just like in Sunset Boulevard with the whole walking around thing. I am still undecided as to whether that's exactly what this is, or if this is going to be like a pre-recorded element that they're going to use, or if this is all a major publicity stunt, or if this is for promotional footage. It seems, I think she's wearing a robe here, so it seems like this is test footage, and it is something they are rehearsing in order to do live, which I have mixed feelings about, because, you know, it's the most important song of the show, it's the biggest song of the show, and the people who bought tickets to be inside the theatre kind of want to see it performed live at the same time. It's the stuff that makes these Jamie Lloyd shows so exciting. What do you think?
So when someone steps in and demands that this story be altered when a performer allegedly says parts of it are too problematic, that doesn't just spark a creative debate, it feels like someone is rewriting a sacred text. But the controversy didn't stop with cultural reverence, because the nature of Zegler's alleged rewrite requests raised even more eyebrows.
Rachel Zegler committed the cardinal sin of posting a photo of herself that she liked on Instagram, and maidenless fellows seem to have interpreted that as their sort of bat signal. It's just such a weird thing for the Geeks and Gamers Twitter to be reporting on. Like, I guess this website needed to know that weirdos are calling a woman ugly for some reason. But of course, the purpose of posts like these is to sanitize terrible internet behavior, right? She's not catching heat. This isn't some sort of controversial hot take. She just posted a photo of her face and implied that she liked it. And I know that this is a fairly mild example, but just as a word of advice to people in this sphere, if you don't want to be known as the people who harass folks you dislike for completely unrelated, crappy reasons, these are your opportunities to condemn that and to excise it from your community. Just don't be shocked that you keep getting those accusations when you're very much the ones cultivating it. And in the event that Geeks and Gamers fans do find this, I have a pretty good idea of what you're going to comment over and over again, and I just hope you guys know you're not clever, or funny.
According to leaks from sources close to the production, Zegler wasn't just making polite suggestions. She came with a detailed list, one that reportedly flagged entire sections of the script as harmful, outdated, or tone-deaf. She allegedly argued that certain lyrics romanticized patriarchal power structures and portrayed Eva Peron as too submissive to the men around her.
You would have to be living under a rock to not know about all of the backlash that Rachel Zegler has been getting for being a complete bozo when it comes to the upcoming Snow White movie that she's starring in. Every time I see this video, I just keep reminding myself that she is an actress. You can tell that she's acting. Check this out.
And other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all. So when I tell you that it's hard, I just mean to be inside my brain. That's hard.
It's so hard for me to go out there and be an actress and make hundreds of thousands of dollars and then say stupid things when I'm in the limelight. Rachel Zegler should probably come out and just throw all of the seven magical creatures under the bus and turn everybody's gaze to them so that way she stops taking so much heat.
Some sources even claim she pushed to modernize Evita into a more overtly feminist intersectional character, one who questions power instead of craving It lines where Evita flirts or manipulates political figures too. Regressive scenes showing the Argentine elite dismissing her rise allegedly reframed to spotlight class struggle. Through a modern lens, there's even talk that Zegler objected to how certain poor characters were portrayed, suggesting the script leaned too heavily into stereotypes rather than nuance. And here's the kicker: the creative team was stunned. One insider reportedly said they expected Zegler to come in ready to honor the role, not overhaul the entire narrative to fit a new ideology. Some even felt the heart of the story was being lost in translation, but what happened next took things from awkward to outright hostile. Behind the curtain, things started unraveling fast. According to whispers from inside the production, the rewrite demands triggered serious tension between Zegler and key members of the creative team. The director, who had spent over a year prepping a faithful adaptation, was allegedly furious. Several longtime collaborators reportedly felt blindsided, calling the changes unnecessary, heavy-handed, and ego-driven. One anonymous crew member described the environment as a war zone of egos, with people constantly walking on eggshells around Zegler. Some cast members quietly voiced concern too, allegedly questioning whether the story was still Eva at all. At least 2 crew members are rumored to have threatened to quit if certain revisions were forced through. The conflict wasn't just creative, it was philosophical. Traditionalists wanted to preserve the soul of the story. Zegler, according to leaks, wanted to reconstruct it entirely, and stuck in the middle was a frustrated, divided team trying to hold it all together. But the biggest backlash wasn't coming from the stage, it was coming from the outside world, where fans were watching closely and they weren't impressed. The moment the rumors hit social media, everything exploded. Fans of the original Evita, and even those who barely knew the show, flooded platforms like X, TikTok, and Reddit with furious reactions. Within hours, the hashtag #NotMeEvita was trending in multiple countries. People weren't just upset about the changes, they were angry at the principle of it all. They saw it as yet another example of a modern celebrity backed by a powerful PR machine trying to force a classic into a new ideological mold. Some even accused Rachel Zegler of turning the production into a vanity project. She wants to play Evita but not respect Evita. One viral post read, racking up over 400,000 views in a day. Another said bluntly, Zegler didn't sign on to honor the story, she signed on to rewrite it in her own image. But it wasn't just critics throwing punches, even longtime fans of Rachel Zegler, those who had supported her during West Side Story and defended her during the Snow White backlash, were starting to turn. I was rooting for her, one user commented, but this is too far. You can't just demand history be changed because it doesn't align with your worldview. Started digging up old interviews suggesting a pattern. Clips resurfaced of Zegler critiquing Snow White for being outdated, calling the prince a stalker, and bragging about reworking the narrative into something more empowering to her critics. Eva was just the next target, but this time the backlash wasn't confined to online snark. Prominent voices in the theater world began to speak out. Broadway enthusiasts, Latin American historians, and even performers who had once played Eva Peron chimed in, many expressing shock at the audacity of rewriting such an iconic piece. This isn't just a musical. One Argentine stage actor posted, "It's our cultural legacy, don't you dare reshape it for clicks." Petitions began circulating demanding the production release an official statement. Banned pages once dedicated to Zegler started unfollowing her, or worse, reposting memes mocking her rewrite crusade. And while Zegler herself remained silent, her team was reportedly scrambling behind the scenes because, as the internet fumed, another fire was spreading in the boardrooms above the stage. Behind the Curtain of this growing controversy is a much bigger question: was Rachel Zegler acting alone, or was there studio pressure quietly guiding her every move? According to multiple sources close to the production, the answer may not be as simple as it looks. While Zegler is being publicly criticized, whispers from inside the industry suggest that Disney's influence, particularly through her management team and aligned PR firms, may be playing a much bigger role than anyone realized. Insiders say that since Zegler became a rising face within Disney's modern reboot universe, every major role she takes comes with a strategic PR roadmap, not just how to perform but how to frame the performance. With Snow White, it was about reimagining a passive character into a feminist icon. With Eva, some now believe the narrative was being rewritten before she ever stepped on stage. Theories began to circulate that Disney-affiliated representatives were heavily involved in script consultations and that the rewrite proposals weren't just Zegler's opinions but a broader ideological agenda being pushed from the top down. One anonymous crew member allegedly leaked a memo in which producers were encouraged to avoid tone-deaf messaging and preempt backlash by aligning with modern values. Another claimed a consultant hired by the studio reviewed the entire script for potential offense. Even more suspicious sources say that key changes were being fast-tracked, not debated, without the usual feedback process from creative veterans. It's as if certain lines and scenes were already earmarked for deletion before rehearsals began. It's not that Rachel demanded rewrites, one person wrote on a private forum. It's that everyone was told to act like she did, so the studio didn't look like the puppet master. Of course, all of this is speculative. Disney has made no official comment, but given the company's growing involvement in politically charged storytelling and its history of using talent as a public F-facing shield, the theory doesn't seem far-fetched. Whether or not Zegler was truly behind the changes, the perception is what matters, and right now the perception is that she's the face of a movement that's trying to scrub away anything that doesn't perfectly fit the new Hollywood narrative. But this isn't just about Ava or even Rachel Zegler. The backlash ignited by this one decision speaks to a much wider war, one that's been brewing for years. Zoom out and the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't the first time a beloved story has been reshaped in the name of progress. It's just the latest and maybe the most controversial example in a growing list. From Disney's The Little Mermaid to Peter Pan and Wendy, Snow White, and now Evita, there's a clear movement happening in Hollywood modernizing classics, whether the audience wants it or not, and Rachel Zegler has quickly become the face of that movement. In some circles this is celebrated, in others it's seen as cultural vandalism. It's not just about diversity or empowerment, it's about rewriting what people grew up with and replacing it with something more sanitized, more controlled, more corporate. Audiences are starting to push back, not because they hate change but because they feel gaslit. They're being told they're bigots or stuck in the past, simply for wanting characters to stay consistent, stories to stay intact, and legacies to stay untouched. Critics argue that the industry no longer trusts its audience. Every line, every costume, every plot twist now comes filtered through a committee of image managers, brand consultants, and sensitivity readers, and when you dare to object, you're dismissed as a hater, a troll, or worse. Rachel Zegler, fair or not, has become the lightning rod for that frustration, whether it's her own doing or just the result of being Hollywood's latest safe choice or progressive casting. She now finds herself at the center of a cultural firestorm, and that fire is only spreading. Rumors are already circulating that the Evita rewrites could trigger other productions to follow suit, turning once untouchable scripts into PR Friendly rewrites, even the term legacy adaptation is being thrown around in pitch rooms where the goal isn't to honor the original but to fix it. But here's the twist: sometimes fixing something that isn't broken only makes it worse in the end. This isn't just a story about one actress or one musical. It's a story about power, legacy, and what happens when modern ideology collides with cultural history. Rachel Zegler may have stepped into the role of Evita with ambition and vision, but now she's facing a very different spotlight, one where every decision is dissected, every word is scrutinized, and every rewrite becomes a symbol of a larger fight that's dividing the industry and the fans who fuel it. To some's Glare is a pioneer, a bold voice unafraid to challenge outdated norms and reshape stories for a more inclusive future. But to others, she's become the face of everything they can't stand about Hollywood right now. The performative activism, the sanitized storytelling, the eraser of historical nuance in favor of moral correctness. What's most ironic is that Evita itself was never a clean, simple story. Eva Peron was a controversial figure, both adored and criticized in her own lifetime. Her legacy is messy, complicated, and filled with contradictions. To flatten her into a one-dimensional symbol of modern empowerment risks stripping away the very depth that made her fascinating in the first place. And here's the harsh truth: fans notice, they see when something feels real, and they see when something's been focus tested into oblivion. The danger of tampering too much with beloved material is that eventually people stop showing up, they stop caring, they disengage, and no matter how correct or progressive the message may be, if the soul of the story is gone, the audience will leave with it. So now, Rachel Zegler stands at a crossroads. Will she double down and become the poster child for Hollywood's cultural overhaul, or will she listen to the voices rising from the wings, the fans, the cast, the crew, urging her to respect what came before? Because this isn't just about Eva. It's about whether the stories we pass down still belong to the people or just the politics of the moment. And that's where you come in. Do you think Rachel Zegler's rewrite demands were justified? Or has Hollywood finally gone too far? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is far from over. The stage may be set, but the next act could change.